आपका नाम, इंट्रोडक्शन?
Ghazanfar Agha, Team Pakistan के साथ.
Team Pakistan के साथ. Okay. Would you tell us about your previous championships or something, and about your team?
We got 4 drivers from Pakistan. 5 of us came in from Pakistan for this race, and 1 driver joined us here, who's the local GT2 champion. The competition was intense. This race had a lot of professional drivers, teams from all over the world, ranging from F1 to F3 to GT2. It was an intense race. We were expecting a much lesser competition, but being the final race of the season, it was very highly contested. There were a lot of participants here.
You've been doing the championship racing in Pakistan as well. So would you tell us about more about your own self background?
Over the last 1 month, I've done all 3 forms of racing. We had an off-road race in Pakistan 3 weeks ago at Noorabad. I won that in Pakistan, and then we had the annual autocross championship that goes on in Pakistan. That was 2 weeks ago. I won that for the year 2011 again. And Ashok and then this weekend we've raced here. It's a different level altogether. Despite being amongst the top races in Pakistan, this was an eye-opening experience for us because we were way off the mark. Our best times were lower than some of the worst times for some of the better teams.
Oh, when you say eye-opening, do you think we are lacking in kart track in Pakistan?
We don't have a kart track in Karachi. There's a track in Lahore, but most of us are from Karachi. We don't have a karting facility in Karachi. I got onto a kart after 2.5 years. So that just shows lack of practice. We didn't know the track too well. Plus we don't have any driving hours under us. There's no mileage under most of us. Most of us gotten into a kart anywhere between a year to 2.5, 3 years later. So obviously that tells the times on the track. And out of, like I said, of the 3 forms of racing that I've done over the last month, at the highest level, national and now international, this is more gruesome. This is more grueling because this was 24 hours. It's also very taxing on the body.
What do you say about track?
The track was very challenging. It was very different from most of the tracks that I've raced on before because this wasn't a very gutsy track. The fastest driver was not necessarily the best driver. It was more about brains. It was about slowing down and taking bent and contained speed rather than going flat out. It was a very tricky, very challenging track, but a fun track.
How about the teams that you're competing with? What are you going to say about the teams that?
Like I said earlier, most of them are international teams. There were 7 teams from the USSR and Ukraine and that region alone. There were a couple of teams from the UK. There was a team from Belgium. There were some teams from Bahrain. The local national team was racing with us, the UAE national team. Batelco Racing, which is one of the senior racing teams here, they were racing. So these were all professional teams. We were the only amateurs on the grid. Everyone else was a professional team.
How do you feel about your positioning and the race?
Obviously, we had hoped to do better, but given the level of competition, we've done well. We've still finished ahead of 2 other teams, and one of them being a professional team from Russia. So it was an eye-opening experience, like I said, humbling experience, given that we are used to winning a lot more back home, but it was very challenging. All 24 hours were very, very challenging.
Any plans for the future races, or are you looking at?
It depends on if we can line up some sponsorship because this was an expensive race. We were lucky to have HBL and Multinet sponsoring us. That's what made our presence here possible. It really depends if somebody's willing to sponsor Team Pakistan. We can come back and do more because this is all about track time. The more you race, the more you know the track, the better your times will be. Because we were marking racing lines while racing, whereas most of these teams have been racing on this track for years. Some of the teams do it every weekend. So that's the difference between winning and losing, by the way. 1.5 second separated team number 1 and separated us in qualifying. So you can imagine 26 teams, 25 teams, that was us at number 25 in qualifying, had a gap of only 1.5 seconds. You can imagine the intensity of the competition.
And what about your individual planning? What do you see yourself? Are you going to participate in more races
Inshallah, I race for Pakistan. I race for my passion. We are not professionals. We are amateurs. We race on our off time. We all have other full-time jobs. So when we go back to Pakistan next weekend, we are going to Jalmaksi again. There's the Desert Off-Road Challenge. We have some international participation coming into that event. So that's another challenge. Like I said, this has been a very, very hectic, busy racing calendar. 3 weeks ago we had the Noorabad Off-Road Challenge. 2 weeks ago we had the 5th race of the annual Autocross Championship, the Extreme Championship. We've raced here this weekend. Next weekend we are racing in Jalmaksi, Balochistan.
So last thing, how do you feel when you drive in a three different races. Like autocross is totally different than off-roading. Off-roading is totally different than karting. Like, how do you see you like?
On our team, I was the only one on Team Pakistan who's done all three forms of racing in the last 1 month. The other guys have been doing only autocrossing or have driven the karts here. I've done all three forms over the last 1 month. All three are very, very different. This was very grueling because 24 hours plus karting is very different. You're doing 120 kilometers per hour on a kart that's just 2 inches off the track. And these were good karts. These were faster than anything we've driven in Pakistan previously. So it's very challenging, very different. You have to adjust very quickly. I landed last night, so I didn't have a lot of track time under my belt. But that's what racing is. We learn and we improve.
Wish you all the best and good luck for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.